halftime already? Who does this?
That's a shutdown play from Dia.
It's time for Watchpoint.
Welcome to MLG's Watchpoint. Mr. X here with Monty Newbern. What a big week. Week 3, Golden Boy was back in town. Dragons Day this week.
Another week, another celebration of the Dragons, another week with no wins for the Dragons, you know? Same thing every time, right? It's okay. Maybe next week is their biggest chance to get a win before the season is over.
I mean, conversely, though, a much-needed week of wins for the Houston Outlaws, for example. I mean, they had a fairly consistent showing in that game, but there's still question marks over their heads. And maybe, there are teams that we had question marks over their heads last week, and now we kind of don't anymore. So it's been, I guess, a good perspective gainer, week 3 in general. It was peculiar, though. There's no doubt about it, but don't worry. We're going to explain everything that happened, and we'll begin with your biggest stories in 90 seconds.
My lords, my ladies, please join me and raise a mighty cheer for the Los Angeles Valiant!
What in tarnation?
The fourth and final battle for Los Angeles saw the Valiant shutting out their rival Gladiators 3-0. Taking the season series 3-1 and claiming the throne as the Kings of LA. In the battle of the Stage 4 unbeatens,
This is a bad strategy. Please do not do this.
This is showboating at its most extreme.
the Valiant continued their torrid start to the stage, taking down the mighty NYXL in an epic 5-map match.
Such a massive win for the Valiant.
San Francisco continued to impress, picking up a 3-1 victory over the Red Hot Fuel. And against Coach Krusty's former Uprising team, extended their winning streak to 3.
It's good that Shock is in this position because they are going to cause so much trouble to the teams that are going for the overall playoffs.
The once unbeatable Uprising continued to trend in the wrong direction,
It's not a great look. Better to just close your eyes and let it happen.
losing both their matches in Week 3 and leaving them winless in Stage 4. The same was true for the Philly Fusion, who dropped 2 matches, while the Seoul Dynasty and Houston Outlaws ended their skids with 2 wins, both over Shanghai and Florida.
The NYXL had their 12-match win streak snapped by the Valiant, who now sit in 2nd place overall. Boston officially has their feet to the fire with 3 teams just 1 match behind them. The Outlaws kept their playoff hopes alive with 2 wins, but I think we have to start by talking about the London Spitfire.
Oh, here we go.
So, this week, they got their 3rd win, which was their 3rd in a row ever since making their roster changes. But then they come up against the Dallas Fuel.
The Dallas Fuel.
The Dallas Fuel. And the Dallas has been playing well. There's no doubt about that with their one strategy. But you have to say this has to be one of the worst, absolute worst game plans coming into a match this season that the London coaches devised for their team. Because we see the Spitfire, they're playing into a team that uses Brigitte 72% of the time, which is well above the league average. And here are their pick rates in their match versus the Dallas Fuel.
Look at this Winston pick rate.
The Winston pick rate, super high up there, but I think the bigger concern was the Tracer, Genji, and Sombra pick rates that we saw coming in, as well as the low Zarya pick rate, which could have helped them out on Horizon when they were playing into a Junkrat. Now, Blizzard World was just appalling. Like, they're going to play Brigitte. Why do you play your entire attack and get basically full held Tracer Genji into this? It is horrible. And then you also have not a lot of Reinhardt, too. Like, Jester's coming in on this Reinhardt, and he's dying a ton. Now, he doesn't play very much, but, I mean, the Ryan play that we've seen was no good. This was appalling all around from London.
He got clapped.
Yeah, it was...
Yeah. But for me, it's look at this composition they're running right here. They're running Prophet on Zarya. For me, that's the issue, is that maybe they don't feel that Fury is a capable of Zarya.
He is a capable Zarya.
So that's why they keep playing Diva comps. But that's the only way they can keep doing it.
And I hazard to say, go back and think about, London's most successful periods. First, Stage 1, that's another story. But matches they've often won, quite often, it hasn't required them to be too flexible and adaptive in the team compositions. A lot of their wins, especially in Stage 2,
absolutely,
far less in Stage 3, came from teams that couldn't adapt to their dive, right? They just couldn't deal with the aggression. Now you can't play that way. and they're still trying to play this way. I have to wonder, they've got a real brains trust, going on there in the London, in the booth. There's a lot of people sat in there, but it seems more like a peanut gallery at the moment because these decisions don't make any sense.
Well, that's what I want to go back to. I want to go back to stage one when they had Bishop as the coach. I feel like we talked so much about coaching with different teams and whatnot, is that Bishop was the coach of this team early on, and they were successful, right? Your stage one champions, 71% win rate with Bishop at the helm. 59% since releasing him March 7th. You saw at the end of stage one, they were starting to solidify a lineup. They were doing a good thing with their playstyle, right? They got a really good dive. Then they focused on playing a little bit defensive. Then they were able to put it all together.
Is that a big difference in win rate, though?
Stage 2 and stage 3, they started playing all these different lineups all over the place.
Yeah.
That's where it falls apart for me.
I think you really, you have to be mad at the coaches, I think, if you're a London fan right now, because first off, they have to cut all these players because the coaches, it seems, cannot stop themselves from writing their names on a roster for some reason. Apparently they were physically incapable of running one roster, so they had to send half their team or four players back to Korea. And now we come in, and you know Dallas is going to play Brigitte, and you literally run the worst comps you can into it, and then don't change at all. And sure, some of the changing in-game is the players not reacting appropriately, but when you come out of the gate with these compositions that you just know are not going to work against Dallas, at least try and have a game plan where fight him, put Profit on the Brigitte, win the battle on the front line.
Where the Fuel have pretty much played the same thing.
They only do one thing.
That's all they do.
They only play one thing.
And they're good at that.
It happens to be their pocket picks, by the way, but that's sort of all they do, guys. We've got to move on, though. I know we're being Megatrons right now. Let's go over and be Optimist Prime, shall we? The LA Valiant are a team that's doing everything right lately. I'm going to walk back some of my earlier concerns. I wouldn't say criticism. I was more speculating. I'm backpedaling a bit, but I did sort of ask soon, is he going to be the player they need? Is he going to be the player that stands up to your Sureforce, that stands up to your Bird Rings and the like? This week was very good for him. I think his performance against the Gladiators was good. Overall, though, I think the Valiant are looking excellent. It's I think our initial concern was is there a star player on this roster? Are they going to have a star player? Do they need one?
Star DPS player.
Star DPS player, yeah, okay, in all fairness. But they did a great job of, pressuring Fisher down. They made very good use of Soon. He's looking more consistent now. And everyone's analysts always underrates LA Valiant. Yes, they did have a weaker schedule, right? So you can only use the strength of those results to actually build up your impression of how they'll perform. And sometimes you just don't know until you get a match like this and you can really make a guess. And a lot of people are diminishing the significance of the win against New York.
Which you should,
sandbagging,
absolutely.
and that is reasonable to suggest, but I still think they look very good, especially even the last map against New York. I didn't see too much throwing happening there. I thought New York definitely were trying and were shut out, so...
Okay, but when you don't try for the rest of the series, you only try for one map, sometimes that's going to happen.
I will say,
where it's due.
Some of the reasons we don't talk about, I think, the Valiant DPS as superstars is because they don't make those crazy highlight plays that you see a lot of, whether it's your Carpes, your Flutta, Striker in the past make. They're just really consistent. It's like the team as a whole, right? I mean, you could, Fate and Space are a really good tank line. You have Custa and Kariv who are really strong in terms of a
Soon sometimes just gets dumpstered by the Widows.
Yeah,
it just happens. He just has these really crap games.
They're just, they're not a really flashy team to watch play, but they're really consistent.
Yeah, and while Soon was good, statistically he wasn't that different from what he had done earlier in the stage. But it was really about who he was getting the picks on. It was Shaz in some of these clutch situations. But it was really Agilities right now who I thought stepped up his game. Statistically, basically on every hero, he was better versus the Gladiators than he has been in the rest of stage 4. So he's been the one who's been increasing his level of play, whereas Soon has been consistent but not as flashy. But against the Gladiators, killing the Moira, killing the enemy Widowmaker every time. It was where he was getting the kills that really made
Agility's also pounded Fisher on Doomfist as well when they moved over to Oasis. Yeah. I think the Valiant figured out how to really exploit the strongest / weakest part of the Gladiators.
And think about where this team was in stage 2. I mean, right there, they have Kariv playing DPS. He's going out there, just he's playing Widowmaker. You're just trying to figure out what's going on. So since they've added Custa in Space, they've been really strong. 13-3 with them in the lineup. The only losses are to London, Houston, and Boston over a 4-match span. So,
and New York in the playoffs.
Yeah, and New York in the playoffs. But still, they have been a very strong team since you got both of those players in the lineup. You have a more vocal leader in the front line in terms of tanks with Space, where you had Envy come out, who Envy, from all we know, just kind of followed Fate around, just do whatever he did. Yep. And then Custa coming in at the main support.
Another
trade for
vocal
Custa
leader.
Franco, another vocal guy in the back line. So I think you got a really good deal with those two.
That's right, but we do have to talk about the Gladiators a bit, because the Valiant's DPS stepped up in some of these big moments, but the Gladiators, Surefour and Hydration, didn't really step up where they were needed. Soon was pretty convincing in that Widow battle against Surefour, and we really needed bigger performances from the Gladiators. But part of that really has been the compositions that they wanted to run in these matchups, because I was really unimpressed with the Gladiators deciding to use Zarya Brigitte alongside Widowmaker. And if we just take a look at the Zarya Brigitte composition, now they're running 62%. Now, it's going to be sort of a long explanation, but this is a fine composition to use when you have a way to finish off the Graviton. So it's like, do you have a Hanzo? Sure, fine. Do you have a Pharah? Fine. Do you have a Junkrat? Fine. Even McCree is okay in this composition because you can pair it up with a Deadeye. The problem is when you're running the Widowmaker, the only thing that can finish off the Graviton is going to be a charged Zarya. So if you are wiped and you're coming back with a Grav and you have no Zarya charge, you can't do anything.
And against Trans, it doesn't.
And against Trans anyway. So against Trans, you're right. It doesn't do anything, right? Basically, you're hoping that the Reinhardt will turn his shield to stop your Zarya damage, which opens up a Widowmaker sightline, but you don't even have to do that through Trans or even through Valkyrie.
Yeah. I think like you can do it. Like they need a Hanzo. Even with a Hanzo, you still need a Reinhardt sort of swinging inside the Trans as well to try and counteract the damage. In all fairness, I thought Void was very good in that second series against the Fusion. I think on Lijiang Tower, he was very, very good Zarya play. But Bishu was my player of that match, of that series. I thought he's very, very good on Dorado in general. But again, you need to win both matches that week. It's a very crucial week. And beating Philly is now becoming not so big a feat anymore.
I would say there's a little bit of bigger issues for the Gladiators in terms of main support. I think Big Goose has not been playing the best for a while now. I think you look at
He's the weakest link on this team.
you look at one of the weaknesses for this lineup, it is definitely him. And I think it puts a lot of other players in a tough position, right? Fissure wants to be aggressive as at Winston, right? And then it forces Big Goose into odd situations. Does he go after Fissure, try to heal him up? Do you leave Surefour alone? I think you saw that in the Valiant series, you saw a lot of times they were either getting Fissure first and then Big Goose second, or it was like the other way around. They did a really nice job of targeting Fissure and then getting Big Goose right after. They know he would come out. I think you need to see better play from the main support.
I got a bone to pick, personally, with Philadelphia Fusion. This is a team that I talked them up so much, I look like a damn fool when they lose or they play like this. Now, it's been a rough week. They've lost 3 straight matches. We've seen a lot of shadow burn due to an apparent injury. Mate, you're playing 2 games a week. All these guys are playing 2 games a week. There's so many freaking injuries in the Overwatch League. I don't understand it. What are these guys doing? Extreme sports in their days off? They're not even allowed to do that. Regardless, we saw a lot more shadow burn this week. And if you look at the comparison between EQO on Junkrat, EQO definitely the stronger player in that particular role. Outside of that, we also saw Carpe with a quieter week. I think a lot of the time he was not having the impact that he needed to have, especially against the Gladiators when it really counted, although that did go all the way. It was a good series. I mean, this is not what you want to see from a team that people were saying at the start of this stage could be number 2.
All right, I think
they look like number 2 in the other sense of the word.
Fair enough. That's harsher than I would put it.
Yeah. I'm annoyed.
I understand why you're annoyed, because this team looked like, we know this team has a very high skill ceiling, right? And they peaked very hard, especially in Stage 2. But honestly, I think they've been overrated for a while, because Stage 3 was not kind to them. By the end of Stage 3, they didn't look like they were on the same page as a team at all. Their teamwork had gone way downhill, and I think it's just carried over now into this stage, despite the fact that we have Hot Bun. And
you can't be happy with the 0-4 against New York either.
They are the biggest question mark in terms of a team. If you told me they came in and beat NYXL tomorrow, I wouldn't be shocked. If you told me they came in and got 4-0, they didn't take a point, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, their highs are really high and their lows are really low. But for me, I know when EQO is not in the lineup and they have to play Shadowburn, I think Boombox needs to step up in terms of flex supports. How many great flex supports do we have in the league now that are just putting up really good numbers in offensive categories, right? As a flex support with Zenyatta, I mean, you can get the healing done, throw an orb on somebody, let it go. It's just about the damage output for me. And I think Boombox, when you take a look at his stats overall, he's just average. He's like right at the league average in anything. I mean, you see a lot of the top teams consistently, they're getting this top flex support play. New York at the top, you have Jonak, Valiant right behind, Creed. Bedosian for London. You need that flex support to
So you're
produce at a
saying
high level.
they just need they need better than average in all these roles if they want to be that top team.
Well, I think without somebody super strong in the second DPS role right now, the flex support is even that much more important. You need that. You need the damage, the extra damage to come from somewhere. It's got to be Zen.
You are patient zero for Jonak syndrome now. You're putting out the call for Zenyatta's to get aggressive and do damage. We already know what that's done internally to teams.
I mean, but look at some of the numbers for like Jaehong. Even Jaehong's numbers are pretty good in terms of damage, right? I mean,
Yeah, but
building up the trans faster and whatnot.
And he has his own criticisms we can level at him, but we can move on.
Yeah, his Winston wasn't good.
All right.
Yeah, it's even.
So,
It's okay.
despite like the Philadelphia, we had some surprising results with them, obviously, with so many losses early in the stage. But there are also a bunch of surprising plays, and didn't see that coming. Shadowburn, you guys criticize him. I think he has not been really the biggest issue on this team, and known for his Pharah play. That's just a beautiful concussive blast to get 2 off of Lee John Gardens.
Opportunistic, and it pays off. Can't complain.
And we're going to go with his teammate here for the next play. See the last look at Shadowburn's boop. It's going to be Carpe. The kill onto Tracer here with the Widow. This is an insane shot.
Look at how many mouse pads he switches it. That's like 3 mouse pads worth of...
So I think he plays with a wireless mouse as well. So it must be a really low sensitivity or DPI.
He's like Flusher, he's lifting that thing. Yeah, it must be low, because look at how jerky that... It's super interesting anyway. Agilities, this is really nice. This is how the Valiant sort of sealed things up and got themselves on trajectory to win the series against New York. Now, this rarely works, right? You get a lot of warning from a retire from spawn. But it worked very nicely. Soon's also popping off simultaneously, and they combine to give the Valiant the win on this round, and ultimately they take the map. Ka-chow!
Yeah, that's great. And I love watching Pine, as does everybody else. He's a crazy player. Plays Widow in a unique fashion, and here's a flank from him with a 3K. Just casually picking them apart while the front line is occupied. Once the Widow's down, that Roadhog's not going to be doing anything to him, and neither will the Brigitte, so it's just a shooting gallery.
Worked better than the one that he tried on Gibraltar.
That was horrible.
This one was pretty sick. We need to take a look at Tavika's Junkrat 3K on Horizon here against the Outlaws. Remember watching it, I was like, oh man, the Outlaws are going to take the point. Tavik goes big. It's Jake using a Dragon Blade. He gets taken out, moves his way onto the point, a kill onto Raucus. Then he'll get one more with the tire to finish it off.
Great multitasking. He holds the point and mouse one at the same time. Here's Zumba's Zarya. Now, this was sick. This was protecting against you can see a meteor strike there. So Zumba shields Kuki. Kuki being shielded then protects Zumba by line of sight. There's a transcendence there, and Wakid's protecting himself with his own shield. So no one actually dies to what would have been a very nice space jam.
That was just amazing when I saw it. Didn't know if there was a bug, but no, it's just a bunch of barriers protecting people.
Where's the barrier protecting these people?
This is just the barrage that Pharah players dream about, right?
Yeah, what happened
All the support's backing into you, nobody paying attention.
No barriers. What happened to hashtag protect Shanghai on Twitter, guys?
It'll be Gigery from the Shanghai Dragons. We'll take another look at a clip here against their match, Seoul Dynasty, as she flies up, takes out Wakid, goes back to the ground, takes out Kuki, and then kills Wakid again.
Really solid. She gets everywhere, you know what I mean? She's everywhere at once somehow on Devo. Always a pleasure to watch that one. Here's Mickey Brigitte, giving him a strong whip. No nay-nay, though, unfortunately. Moves up onto the point here and see that whip shot. Yeah, gets the big knockoff there on Profit. You'd love to see it. Mickey out there getting down.
That just really turned the tide of this match, too. I mean, eliminating the Brigitte in that situation, absolutely huge. And back to one of my favorite players, Architect.
Oh, really?
Of course. And look at this deflect right here. Striker been playing more Widowmaker these days, taking over the reins from mistakes. Now the Tracer's no longer in the meta.
Striker bending over backwards, still can't give the boss the win.
Oh, man.
Must be rough.
Striker's had a rough stage.
He's just playing limbo out there, you know? He got his games mixed up, man. Give him a break. So, there you go. We finished off with a nice clip there from the Shock, and they themselves are putting together a great stage 4 so far. With 2 more wins this week, they now sit in 4-2, and they're in a good position to actually make their first stage playoffs. It's safe to say that Baby Bay Sinatra and all the other bros of the Shock are pretty pumped about their 3-match win streak.
San Francisco Shock will take the win.
The San Francisco Shock are going to win this series.
Certainly shocking the world.
That's right.
Honestly, we've won 3 games in a row now, and Krusty is working for us officially.
Let's scout enemy comp and dink.
He's really been helping our team, like with our dives. Our dives were really sloppy back then, but he's helping me and Super get really coordinated, so we're always on the same page as a team.
Now the stick comes in from Sinatra with that pulse bomb.
I guess Krusty brings like an alpha role.
That is true. He definitely put us in check, I would say, because when a coach comes over from a successful team as Boston was, you know what I mean, you tend to respect a person like that a lot.
This match it's got so much on the line other than the playoff standings now, because there's the respect now of Krusty. His honor is on the line here.
We knew we had to win. Yeah, if you leave a team, you always want to beat the other team, like the team that you left. So we tried extra hard this time, yelling comms and stuff like that. So
Krusty prepped us really hard for it, and you could tell that Boston prepped really hard too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was not an easy match.
That's gonna be it. San Francisco Shock will win in the end.
In terms of rotating players out, I think our coaching staff has a good idea of what they want to do according to different strengths of each player. We obviously have a projectile player, which is Architect. He's insane at Genji and Pharah.
Architect decides to go bonkers.
And then you have me, who's just a raw, hit scan McCree, Widow.
Monster kill for Baby Bay.
And then we have Sinatra, who's a god at Tracer, Bridget, and Junkrat.
Sinatra though, monster tire.
Choi Hyobin is a monster. One day we just put him in and he was just popping up.
And Choi sets it all up. Rockets, you're dead. He's ruthless.
We want to win the Stage 4 playoffs and prove to everybody that, we're a top team. It would just show that, even though we didn't make the end of the season playoffs, where we're at now and where we're headed is going to be insane.
San Francisco, get their gear now while it's cheaper before Season 2, because you're going to be a fan.
Baby Bay's return to the lineup on McCree has had a huge impact for the San Francisco Shock in Stage 4. In addition to being top 5 in damage and limbs per 10, he's also dying the second least on McCree.
He's also copying my fingerwear style. I see you out there, Andre.
I don't know what fingerwear style means. Anyway, it's time for everyone's favorite debate segment, Attack or Defend, where Mr. X and Uber have intense arguments.
Very intense.
With each other.
Super intense.
For your and my entertainment. Our first topic relates to the Baby Bay and the Shock's coach Krusty, who formerly coached the Uprising. Krusty coached Boston to a 10-0 Stage 3, flawless. And they've lost 6 straight since releasing him. We're also hearing that they may be having internal issues now. So the point is, releasing Krusty was the worst transaction by any team this season. Mr. X, you can go first. Attack or defend, my friend?
I'm going to attack this. I'm going to say the worst transaction all season long has been London trading away Fissure to the Gladiators. They turned the Gladiators into a contender. With iRemix as their main tank, we're talking about them completely out of it, probably below Dallas, probably around where Florida and Shanghai is, that they gave one player away that turned them in to a contender. And they've even come out and beaten, I know, the London Spitfire on occasion. So I'm going to go with something that we can actually see in-game with Fissure.
I think London didn't lose so much, but they did give some gain. I think Boston lost Krusty and gave him over. So you actually have a double net loss there. And you can see now not only that their team is struggling communication-wise, I don't think the Korean players have much of a voice on the team now. And the shock is Krusty is God, where we're a new team, we're completely changed.
I think I got to go with Mitch here because, agreed, it's they didn't have anybody to replace him. Meanwhile, Gesture at least was still on London. It wasn't like they gave away one of their best assets with nothing in return. So got to go with that. So next up, big part of the Valiant's win over the Gladiators in Week 3 was winning the main tank battle. Fate and Fissure were somewhat even in terms of Winston play statistically in this matchup, but when you look at their Reinhardt stats, you start to see a convincing case for the Valiant's Fate. The Valiant's main tank dominated every statistical Reinhardt category, including recording more than twice as many final blows and better than 8 more elims for 10 minutes.
Twice as many final blows.
Yeah, it's very good. He also died significantly less, 8.5 to 5.8. With the importance of Reinhardt in Stage 4, the point will be that Fate is actually a more valuable main tank than Fissure in the current meta. So, Uber, attack or defend?
I'm going to attack this. I think especially in terms of value to their team, Fissure sort of can't be denied. I think it's also the mentality that he brings into that roster. He's definitely raised their level of commitment to the game. I also think that particular match is not a great example because the Valiant targeted him very hard. And the Valiant's DPSs were doing a better job of targeting Fissure than the Gladiators were to Fate, for example. The Doomfist against the Reinhardt on Oasis, that's brutal.
Look, I'm going to defend this. I think it's very close. I think Fate and Fissure are up there with, 2 of the best tanks in the league right now. I think I would go with Fate just because I think you can play the Reinhardt. You can play a little Orisa. He's a very good Orisa player. And then his Winston's been good. And also, he was doing a lot of great Winston stuff earlier in the season when they had Envy as an off tank. You can make an argument. You take Envy, Space, Bishu, Void, put them all in one lineup.
So you think Fate's an MVP candidate?
No, absolutely.
All right.
Fisher's definitely an MVP candidate.
I got to go with Mitch here. I think it's really close, and I do
attempted
agree.
to make it right.
Fate is a strong tank, but you also, I think, have to say Fate has the better main support between Custa and Big Goose right now, which helps really keep him alive. Like Fisher, I think with some extra support could be even better than he is right now.
That would be scary.
All right, so
he's on that island at the moment.
One last one for today.
There's always one we don't know about.
Yeah, it doesn't need any setup. We can just
I don't know about.
We can just take a look.
Yeah, so they open up that fight with a Earthshatter from Fearless, which goes right into the shield of Kuki. They got nothing from that. So then they're also using Valkyrie during this, which isn't a bad idea, right? You use Valkyrie to back up some of the tanks to start to go in, you can get aggressive. So the Shatter doesn't work. Then they try and go around, and Damon shoots a really long-range graph. Hits Jaehong, Jaehong uses Transcendence, they throw in the self-destruct over the top, obviously he doesn't get anything from there. Then you had players start to fall, Free Fuel comes in late with his Transcendence, and that's how you end up using all your ultimates and not getting anything.
Don't have a replay. Well, thank you, Uber, for ult miming, for the casting. Mr. X, attack or defend the ult miming. Why didn't you have a replay there? It's a very complex play you were doing.
I don't know. That's where the better argument. I'm going to attack this. I don't know what the hell that was. I don't know why you're doing that while I'm talking. I'm trying to break down a serious play. Doa wouldn't do that. Doa wouldn't be out there.
Doa does the freaking out. I defend this. He was just talking for like 5 minutes straight. I had to give some sort of entertainment to the audience who were just falling asleep by that point. How many times do you want to say Free Fuel's Transcendence, bro?
So I feel for you. So really, I have to give this to Uber. Again, I think it was great given the circumstances.
I'm still undefeated.
But really, we need a telestrator for those segments so that we can actually have them. So, Uber may have won. He did what he could in a situation, but production, this is on you. Give us a...
I want to be able to show how late Free Fuel's Transcendence is all the time.
I'm taking this one over. We've got one more little topic to look at here as well, and one that's definitely come up a lot in discussion is the facial hair conversation. Now, if you have a look here at your beloved paragon of justice and all those good, Monty has got a little bit of growth here.
Yeah, yep.
Monty and Matt.
No, it's terrible. My facial hair is awful. So
you're gonna attack this?
Oh, absolutely. My facial hair is actually terrible. So I can really only grow like a mustache and then like a triangle here. So I look like a musketeer from the 17th century. it looks like I should be having like a tabard and like waving a rapier around. It's really bad.
Don't worry about me with that. I'm never gonna shave my beard. So
your beard looks
fine.
Great.
Yeah. I shaved today as well, just in case he tried something underhanded. I had plausible deniability. Thanks for indulging me there.
Terrible. I agree with you guys.
What goes around comes around.
Yeah.
All right, in a moment, we've got a story about some of Overwatch League's most unique fans. Plus, it's almost time for Emote Control, where this week we will discuss bullying on the streets of Oasis by the NYXL. I love that, by the way. As well as Bren's interesting diet on our analyst desk. This is Watchpoint.
We are live here. Blizzard Arena, make some noise! Back on the point right now. Oh, but agilities with the 2K tire, and that's going to tie up Nepal.
Valiant
Here we go.
fighting back for that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, the Los Angeles Valiant.
Soon has been so huge.
And New York has actually lost this fight. Valiant will take the series 3-2.
Such a massive win for the Valiant.
My goal is to join you guys soon on the Valiant team. And congratulations on the win.
I love that. That is just fantastic. We are super inspired by all the different fans of the Overwatch League. And guys, as you can see, a lot of the fans are inspired by what they see from their favorite players as well. But it's time for the clips. They got the emotes flying in chat this week. Something a bit more lighthearted, perhaps. It is Emote Control. Check this out. Mickey trying to get out there and fly.
Oh, yeah. All right. So he's supposed to be the Brigitte expert, tries to go over the side here on Handelmar, not able to make it. The speed boost, I think, runs out right before he's about to go.
He also timed it a bit too early, but yeah, you can make that jump, but it is still a what-face moment. They still do very well in this map, though. It didn't really end up costing them much of anything.
Right, moving along. Here's Bren showing us how to carve up for the winter. A bit of a crusty worship here, I guess.
I thought this was super funny. Brandy had like the bread crust on the stage here. The thing starts smoking out of the back after a while. I think, I think we get the T-shirt coming up. Bren's been really funny on the desk as of late.
Yeah, this is just a great bit. I love the fact that we can talk about coaches finally as well, because it's been we're still early in Overwatch's history. We're still trying to figure out who the good coaches are. Krusty seems to be one of them, and it's fun to celebrate him.
Crazy what happens when you stop caring about upsetting people on Twitter, isn't it? Let's move straight along here. Pine, with a very Pine moment here now. This definitely solidified for us that this was less of a high-stakes match for New York, but this is a cool play nonetheless.
I'm going to go with the what face plus bone face PogChamp here. I thought this was awesome. When I was watching this at home and I saw him do it once, I was like, go for it again. I want to see it again. And he tried it 3 times, it didn't work.
This is clearly just some trolling, sarcastic play right here. NYXL, they had nothing to gain by winning this match. You can see they're trying to style on their opponents, showboat a little bit. Doesn't end up working. They end up losing this map and the series. So this is just Kappa, though. Pure Kappa from the NYXL.
And moving straight along, here's Jonas trying to show Soon how to play dodgeball in traffic.
Oh, that's not very good. So, the baby rage here. Soon had to be pissed about this. He's just getting pummeled back and back into the cars there. a really nice play from Janice, being able to isolate him over there by the cars.
All right, I love this. I mean, it was just styling on him on Oasis. This is the X-Ray PogChamp I'm busting out. I absolutely.
We need a Rocky montage.
I laughed so hard while this was happening.
That's a School of Hard Knocks, literally. That's his training, you know, like getting that agility training up. Anyway, let's move along. This is the entrance for Los Angeles Valiant the other day. If you missed it, you missed a treat.
Oh, man.
Now, gentlemen, generally I feel like this is better done ironically, but they made it work.
I don't really know. There's so many things that go through my head with this. I'm going to go with a PogChamp of excitement here, but I'm not exactly sure. I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. And then, like, you know, it happens, and these guys are on the stage with the Knights when
taking themselves really awfully seriously, I feel.
Yeah. So I actually, this is one of my least favorite entrances, Failfish. You can't even, look, they had problems playing around their theme before. I love the Valiant mascot, but come on, if you want to play to the Valkyrie theme, you can't just go random Knights. That's not what it means. Go full Norse, go hard full Viking, or don't go
There's
at
a new
all.
sheriff in town.
But we know what happened. Yeah, exactly. But we know what happened after the ride of the Valkyries, don't we? So perhaps that's not really what they're trying to go for. So you may think by this point, you've seen and heard all there is to know about Week 3 of Stage 4, especially if you're on r/competitive Overwatch. But we have time for one last retrospective thought. It's Hindsight, and Monty, as per usual, will begin.
I think you have to say that the Shock's plan is working. They came into this season saying, hey, we're not going for glory here in Season 1. We're not even going to have a lot of our top players until halfway through the season itself. Not only that, but they're adding more young players like Choi Hyobin and Architect and clearly building for the future. Now they have what should be for them a franchise coach as long as this performance, Krusty's performance continues. So I think we're going to see a very powerful Shock roster next year, and we see them coming into their own right now. Realistically, this is probably one of the top 5 teams in the league at this point in time. And so I'm loving watching them play, and I hope they continue to develop for the future. And there's no reason to believe why they shouldn't. Shock fans should be super excited for Season 2 of Overwatch League.
If there's anything that the rise and very quick fall of the uprising has told us, that is there only a small difference between sort of winning and getting kind of wrecked in the Overwatch League. And conversely, it seems as if the Dallas Fuel weren't really that far off of the mark. Now, granted, this is a dream meta for them. I think a lot of the heroes they play are pocket picks, and Aero comes into the team. But, you know, we kind of thought there'd be a long period of climbing back and grinding out these 1-on-1 weeks, but they've instantly begun to gel in a way that we haven't seen for a long time. And it's not just the comp working for them, it's the whole team working together well. I'm even talking to the players, and they're saying everything just feels so much different now. It's a fresh start. Even when you're rotating AKM and Taimu through, or ostensibly a similar role, they're sort of back on the cusp here. It makes you wonder what would have happened if these guys had actually been able to recover in Stage 2, for example. But it's good to see the Fuel back on the march.
For me, my Hindsight is about the Seoul Dynasty, that they never addressed their issues, and it's most likely going to come back to bite them in terms of overall season playoffs. I think this is a team like the Fuel, right, where Mitch was just talking about how they started now to go in the positive direction, where Seoul Dynasty could have gone that way, but they've opted to go the other way. Now, they should have signed a new main tank. Instead, they tried to add more supports. They added Gambler, who's been a really nice touch, but they never addressed their issues, which was playstyle and main tank. Those two things could have been sorted out with one signing. Never happened. It may end up costing them their season.
Well, that about does it for MLG's Watchpoint. Now, quickly, any teams we haven't mentioned so their fans don't get super annoyed that we just don't talk about their team? I think we're good. We didn't talk about NWAX, we kind of did. They won.
Now there's sandbagging.
Down the rule. We've done that. Shanghai, I mean, Dragon's Day was great.
Maybe Florida Mayhem's doing a little bit better.
Okay, cool. Quick roundup. You have nothing to complain about now. Check out our Watchpoint preview show at Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Pacific time on the OverwatchLeague.com or the Overwatch League app. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.